Hi, my name is Emily Garvey, and I'm a program manager at Code Nation.
Hi, I'm Carolynn Jimenez. I'm a program manager at Code Nation in the Bay Area.
And we're really excited to share our findings with you about a pilot that we led last year, where we had a teacher-led program within our program model. So Code Nation's mission is to equip students in under-resourced high schools with the skills, experiences, and connections that together create access to careers in technology. So that means we're working primarily in under-resourced high schools that may not have another computer science program, and we are connecting them with volunteers who work in the industry and experiences that allow them to sort of figure out what it would be like to work in the tech industry. So we do this by approaching it holistically. We teach students technical skills, including HTML, CSS, and JavaScript, professional skills like interviewing and resume review. We give them workplace experience and connections to the industry through our volunteers, and we give them a sense of belonging by making them feel confident about their skills and their place in the tech industry. Our approach is a three-step model. We start with career exploration in our Intro to Web Development program. This is our in-school coding class for students with no tech experience. We teach HTML, CSS, and JavaScript. And in our traditional program, this is taught by industry professionals. So our volunteers that are software developers in their full-time jobs will come in on a volunteer basis twice a week to teach our program. This is the model that we adapted into our teacher-led program. But just to give you a sense about the rest of our program, after students finish our Intro to Web Development program, they go into Code Nation Fellowship. This is a advanced coding class that is taught at companies. So we have companies like Etsy and Google and Uber that volunteer their space and some software developers to host our students once a week and teach them advanced JavaScript and React. And then we are building out our alumni support so that we can provide our alumni that are in college or in other parts of their tech career with resources, support, and networking opportunities. So TLP is our teacher-led model, and this is what we piloted this year, where we equipped teacher leaders to be the ones to deliver our first year program. So that meant that we taught our teachers in our partner schools to deliver the curriculum, and then we had volunteers come in as mentors to support them as well. Why did we decide to teach TLP? This gave us access to schools that we struggled to serve in the past. So this includes schools that were in difficult locations to reach because our volunteers struggled to be able to travel for a really long time, twice a week, to deliver our program. This was schools that had programs at weird times of the day. So if they had a computer science class that was at 1 in the afternoon, our volunteers couldn't, for example, leave work twice a week in order to do that. Or schools that wanted to have multiple Code Nation classes. So maybe they wanted to serve their entire grade level, but we couldn't provide 4 cohorts of volunteers to teach for them. This also allowed us to serve a greater number of students. This meant more students are also eligible for our fellowship class, which was great. And it decreased the resources required to run an Intro to Web Development program. Right now it takes a volunteer team and a program manager a lot of time in order to successfully run each of our Intro to Web Development programs, and this would take less resources for us. And it would position Code Nation to be more involved in a future where high quality CS education is in all high schools. We want to be able to serve as many students as possible. So this is the data and the numbers from our pilot that happened last school year. You can see that we had schools in both the Bay and New York City, and we had multiple class sections at most of our schools. We also had a couple schools that started in the spring in New York, which was unusual because that was right before COVID hit. So that gave us some interesting data. But you can also see that we served about 400 students, and we had a lot of variation among our program models. We had some schools that were only teaching our curriculum 1 to 2 days a week. Our traditional model is 2 days. We had some schools that were teaching it 5 days a week and supplementing with other materials. We had some that were in school, some that were after school, some that were a semester. So we had a lot of variations. We got a lot of data back because of that. And it was interesting for us to go through and see what worked and what we want to update.
moving into some of the successes and challenges, we wanted to start by highlighting an exemplar program, which is Oakland International High School. Oakland International has a media arts academy that we were able to plug into, and they teach a digital literacy course. And so we served all 11th graders as part of that media arts academy. And we had our Code Nation curriculum delivered 1 day a week with volunteers supporting in 4 class periods. And what was really great about this partnership was it was a new partnership, and we felt so much support and buy-in from the teacher, from school leadership, from the counselors. They were aware of our presence. I have a picture here of a bulletin board they had right at the entry of the school to highlight what students had been learning. And so because we had so many positive adults buying into the program, it led to a lot of really great student buy-in. So I have here just a snapshot of the data that we received from students at the halfway point of the year. So this was around February. And this data compares higher to the traditional data, which we use as kind of like a baseline in some cases. And so we received this feedback that the instruction is really clear, that they are having positive learning experiences with volunteers, and they feel confident in these new skills that they're developing. And about half of these students decided to move on and take the second year course. And so they'll be enrolling this fall in our fully remote virtual fellowship course. So across the board, we saw a lot of students increase their interest in a career in tech, and this was measured in a beginning of year, mid-year, and end of year survey. We had consistent volunteer participation in some of our programs, and that was really helpful in terms of like having a positive adult mentor for students. We had really great teacher communication between the teacher and the volunteers, and the teachers felt really invested in our mission as well, because they were receiving this training from us and getting to learn to code alongside their students. It reduced our costs and resources, so program managers are able to serve more students. Volunteers are able to serve more students. The traditional cost of our programs is about $3,500 per student. And in the TLP model, that cost is reduced to about $2,100. And so as a result, we're able to serve more students. And we also saw buy-in from school leadership that led to outcomes like the increased matriculation in our company-based programming. Some challenges we faced were teacher transience. We had a teacher who had some health issues in the fall semester, and so we had to onboard somebody really quickly as a result of that, and it wasn't something that we were anticipating having to do. And the teachers that we worked with came from really diverse backgrounds, you know, anywhere from 1 to 7 years of teaching experience. And so it was really interesting to learn from so many different stakeholders. We had a really short turnaround on developing this pilot program. And as a result, we didn't have formal teacher training or onboarding for this program. It was very bespoke and really tailored towards each individual teacher and their needs. We didn't have a 5-day curriculum. And so when it came to serving those schools that were looking for 5 days of curriculum, we had to make a lot of adjustments. Part of our program model is offering field trips for students, and it was really hard to find venues for larger field trips that were equitable, that would serve an entire grade level of students, 40 to 70 students. And then we really struggled with volunteers and establishing clarity in what their role was as a mentor and not as somebody who's delivering the curriculum, especially for our returning volunteers who felt like the work was a little bit less meaningful than when they had been delivering curriculum. And it becomes more of like, how do I act as a mentor and not as a teacher necessarily? And so as we rethink the pilot this year, we're looking to continue to host multiple classes by the same teacher. And ideally the scheduling is back to back so that volunteers have an opportunity to work with more students. We want to ensure that these are credit-bearing classes that are happening during school hours, and we don't want to be part of a 4 to 5 day program. We want to make sure that we're supplementing with other curricula. We hope that teachers will self-select to teach this course, and we hope that they are willing and able to commit to some amount of summer preparation and receiving coaching in content and instruction if necessary through weekly one-on-one check-ins. And we want them to use our CodeNation resources and curriculum and provide us with data on student outcomes so that we can continue to monitor the success of our programs. We want to continue to ensure that our volunteers can support 1 to 2 days a week and at least twice a month. And we want to encourage them to stay for multiple class periods so that they can really become part of the school culture, because we work with so many amazing schools. We want to have at least 4 volunteers placed per section, and we want to ensure that our volunteers are continually undergoing training because it's important for their preparation in specifically having like an anti-racist curriculum. And then we want to make sure that our volunteers and our liaisons are communicating through Slack so that those volunteers are a resource for the school leader and the teachers there in terms of like providing feedback, providing resources, and debriefing after class sessions. And so those are some of the things that we're thinking through as we transition to remote learning. And we would love your feedback. I've provided both of our email addresses here, and I'm also on Twitter. Happy to take any questions or feedback. Thank you.
Thank you.